With two key Bank of Canada meetings coming up in the month of June and July, it seems as if prices continue to rise. That's right, when we take a look at the latest numbers, according to the Toronto real estate market and GTA real estate market report, as done by TREB, we see a continuing trend of home prices rising month over month across the GTA and the city of Toronto. But why is this happening? Is the market back? Will this continue? What is the truth? Well, as always, in today's video, we're going to cover all that in the latest edition of the Toronto Real Estate Market Report and TREB Resale Market Report, this time from May 2023. Hello everyone, this is Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate and Remax Realtron Realty Inc. As always, back with another video for you guys here today. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Sam, a Toronto real estate agent working across the GTA with buyers and sellers. On this channel, we like to discuss all things Toronto and GTA real estate market oriented, market stats, market trends, market reports, property tours, pre-construction previews, Toronto condo building reviews, and so much more. So if you find any of this content enjoyable, feel free to subscribe, comment, rate, and review, or follow the channel for more on the Toronto real estate market. As always, my contact information is in the description box and most likely on the screen as well. And if you want first access to the latest trends and market reports, the data, the research, and the reports that go into making these videos, feel free to click the link in the description box and follow my WhatsApp group chat where I share tons of interesting news items and market reports. As you guys can see today, my hand is in a splint. I had a pretty gruesome injury a couple of days ago, but besides that, I'm excited to talk about the latest market report. Let's start. Starting out with the number that most people are probably curious about and the most general stat there is, which is the average sold price across all property types in all areas within the GTA, which is for the month of May 2023, we saw an average sold price of $1,196,000. This represents, as you guys can see, year over year, a drop of 1.2%, because in May of 2022, the average was above 1.2, but marginally so, because we were looking at an average sold price of $1,210,000. Now, this year over year drop of 1.2% is marginal in nature, especially when we're talking about average sold prices. So far as I am concerned, the market, according to this stat, is even to where it was last year, at least across the GTA. Of course, your sub-community, your neighborhood, your particular municipality, for instance, the municipality of King within York region, is operating completely differently on a year over year basis as compared to, for instance, Mimico, let's say in Toronto or Scarborough or Far East in Durham. So obviously, to get a better understanding of the market trends and numbers, we have to break it down to your particular region, as I will do later in this video. But insofar as averages across all property types, across all areas are concerned, it's a 1.2% drop year over year. On a month over month basis, and these charts and numbers are once again something I shared before making this video in my group chat in the WhatsApp group, we see a month over month increase of 3.7%. So in April, the average sold price was $1,153,000. And that 3.7% month over month increase, and this 3.7% month over month increase represents the fourth consecutive month where prices have jumped month over month across the GTA. From January to February, 5.5%. From February to March, almost 1.1%. The biggest jump happened from March to April, 4%. And now, obviously, once again, 3.7% from April to May. Now, I think this trend is going to actually stop into June. That's right. This is being recorded June 6th of 2023. And I think once we have the complete June data available to us, we will most likely see a percentage increase or decrease. Either way, we will most likely see not 3.7% month over month increase, but most likely a percentage decrease or increase. Either way, a percentage increase or decrease on the month over month basis, to me, once again, would indicate a pretty flat lining of the market in terms of it being flush with the previous month. So I think this trend may stop in June, but obviously I can't look into the future. If I were able to look into the future, I would not be working right now. So although prices decreased 1.2%, sales actually jumped up year over year. That's correct, because when we take a look at total sales, we see an increase of almost 25%, 24.7% to be exact year over year. Compare May 2022, where we saw 7,200 sales, and of course May of 2023, where we saw 9,000 sales. And this is indeed despite total new listings dropping dramatically, because total new listings saw a 18% decline year over year. nearly 19%, because when we take a look at total new listings across the GTA, we see a figure of 15,194 to be exact. That is down from the 18,000 figure we were taking a look at in May of 2022. So sales are up 24% while new listings are down 18%. This clearly indicates an increase in sales to listing ratio. Of course, this fails to account for everything because this is only new listings, not total active listings, right? There were a lot of things listed in the month previous to May, April, that carried over as inventory into May. So it's not exhaustive, but it's a pretty good measure. This leads me to conclude that although prices are pretty flush with last year, this May that we just experienced was actually somewhat more competitive and more active from the buying side of things, and a little bit leaning towards more of a seller's market as opposed to May of last year, although that was not reflected in prices. Once again, insofar as the entirety of the GTA is concerned, of course, here and there we see sales and buildings that are on par with last year. You're always going to find a sale here and there that indicates that prices are at all-time highs again. That's just not the case. Those are outlier sales in streets or neighborhoods or buildings. But without a doubt, there is no question that the market has substantially recovered from the lows of Q4 of 2022, although still far shy of the highs and peaks of all time, which was February and March of 2022 to be exact. Nonetheless, though, properties are staying on market for a longer period of time, with an average 2 days additional on market, because we see an increase of 11% for property days on market, jumping from 18 in May of 2022 to now May of 2023, where we see an average days on market of 20. Now, this is something that does not correspond with my experience on the selling side. As always on this channel, I like to say I don't go purely based on the facts and numbers, but I'm a working Toronto real estate agent who works with buyers and sellers across the GTA. So I also use the quantitative along with the qualitative, and I can easily say that this aspect does not correspond to my experience, because on the selling side, and for the past 2 months, I've been primarily working on the selling side, if not exclusively working on the selling side. I can tell you that our listings did not stay on market for longer than 10 days. And if they did, it was because they were in a conditional phase. Often within 3 to 4 days, whether it was the penthouse condo I sold in Mimico, which expect that video to come out very soon. I'm going to do a property tour of that, or a detached bungalow that we sold at Yonge St area. Either way, irrespective of age, property type, my listings in this last 2 months, or especially in May as well, stayed on market for less than 10 days. But of course, once again, that is just my qualitative experience, and the quantitative differs. Now let's get into more detailed numbers, particularly here with regards to property types. And area. Let's take a look at this wonderful chart provided by the TREB Resale Market Report every month with regards to the Toronto real estate market. And we simply see that when we take a look at it, we see here all the property types are listed with regards to the 416, 905, and the total. So the total is pretty much the entirety of the GTA. And obviously the 416 is Toronto proper, and 905 you can think of anything outside of Toronto, York Region, Peel, and Durham. And we see pretty interesting numbers here. And once again, this is year over year, not month over month, right? For all these property types, whether it's detached, semis, townhomes, or condo apartments, we would see a month over month increase in prices, whether it's the total, the 905, or the 416. And most likely, and I'm a little less confident in this, but most likely we would see a month over month increase on the sales figures as well. Nonetheless, though, the average sold price of a detached in the entirety of the GTA was $1,555,000, with semis coming in at just shy of 1.2 million at $1,198,000. Townhomes coming just above 1 million, pretty much $1 million across the GTA, with condos coming in at $748,000. For detached and townhomes, this represented an increase. Obviously, for detached, it was a marginal increase, an increase that's only an increase in number, not really an increase whatsoever. 0.6 is nothing. And for townhomes, a little bit more sizable, but still very marginal in terms of 2.5% year over year. Semis and condos, on the flip side of things, similarly, 0.5% down for semi-detached properties across the GTA. Once again, that's nothing that's negligible. It could easily be 0.5 up, so flush with last year. Condos though down 3% year over year. And this is what I've been talking about with regards to condos for a long time, at least in the last 18 to 19 months, to be the most consistent property type. Whether that be in hot periods, they have increased the least, whether it be in cool periods, they have decreased the least. Before we return to this, let's take a look at Toronto condo prices a little bit more closely. Here, if we look at the last 19 months, once again for Toronto condos, we see that yes, there have been increases when the market has picked up, but only for the last 2 consecutive months. Whereas with all other property types, the increases have been for the last 4 to 5 other property types, right? So month over month increase of 3.3%, because in April, the average sold price for a condo was $724,000. But draw your attention to the down periods, right? When the peak of the market started to wane off in March of 2022. Because in March of 2022, it was the absolute peak of condos across the GTA. We were looking at an average sold price of $808,000. All that red, so down 2%, down 2.4%, down 3%, down 3.7%, and down 1%. These negative month over month representations are far less than other property types during the same period. So once again, this is what I mean. Condos have decreased the least, have increased the least, and they have stayed reasonably and relatively even and contained. Once again, I'm not saying there aren't crazy condo sales with 6, 7 offers, or condos struggling to sell and selling $150K below what they would have sold for otherwise in last year's peak. We can find all these examples, and once we break it down to different areas and different buildings, even with condos, we're gonna find different month over month representations in terms of increases and decreases. There's no doubt about that, but insofar as the general market is concerned, they have been the most contained. Nonetheless though, condos clearly have fallen the most in the 905 when we take a look at 6.3% in the 905 year over year, where right now as it stands in the 905, the average sold price of a condo is $677,000. I would venture to say that this is mostly Peel region carrying down the averages, with Durham region. York region has surprisingly stayed strong with regards to condos, and maybe I'll make a more in detail video of that in the future. By the way, one of my most recent videos is Toronto condo prices by major intersection. It's a new series I'm going to do. I covered some of the major intersections in that video, and going forward I'll cover more major intersections. So go watch that video for sure. One thing that did surprise me though was the semi-detached sales figure. Semi-detached were down nearly 9% year over year in the 416. And I think this has to do with the fact that last year during this time, there were a lot more semi-detached, there were a lot more semi-detached properties in Toronto available. With a 9% drop in sales and a 2% drop in price, and I've made mention of this in the past, I believe semi-detached properties were the most overvalued purely from a financial and market-oriented perspective when the market was really hot. And that's purely, once again, from a financial and market perspective. If you live in a semi-detached and you overpaid for it and you love it, who am I to say to you? Who am I to say it's overvalued, right? So I'm not assessing the emotional connection or how much you like something, but purely from the financial and market-oriented perspective. So by the time you're watching this video, the Bank of Canada has most likely made their announcement on June 7th as to what's happening with interest rates. And perhaps I should have waited to make this video after they actually made that announcement. But of course, most likely, and I could be very much so wrong about this, they're gonna increase interest rates. And I'm not gonna make too many comments on what I think will happen because it's a day before the announcement, so it doesn't really make sense for me to make many proclamations in terms of my opinion. All I can say is, assuming there is no announcement either way, by the way, if you know me for a long time, you know my opinion is that most likely if they don't do it tomorrow, they might do it July. They should definitely do it one more time before the end of the year, and I think they will do it one more time before the end of 2023, most likely in the next 2 meetings. But putting that aside, either way, the market typically cools in the summer anyways. And if inventory continues to improve, which it has been on that trend, although struggling to do so, nonetheless, an improvement is an improvement. I see summer market conditions to be more favorable for buyers and a little less favorable for sellers. Now, once again, this is putting aside what the Bank of Canada does with interest rates. For all I know, by the time you're watching this, they've increased it. And that would add to my enthusiasm in terms of representing buyers. And it's quite interesting because my business does say a lot about the market. And what do I mean by that? Well, in the last 2 months, ever since March, I would really say, I've been primarily and mainly working with sellers because I believe in the last 2 months, honestly, maybe even since February, it's been a very seller-friendly market, a seller's market. So I've been really focusing my energy on my seller clients and my seller leads. Whereas with my buyer leads, of course, I've been seeing things here and there with my buyers, but really serious buyers, I've been telling them if you can afford to wait until the summer months, you should wait. And most buyers, putting me aside, my opinion aside, I think they see the same things, that summer might be a more buyer advantageous time. In the last 2 weeks, I've picked up working with buyers all of a sudden to the point where right now I'm seriously working with 3 serious buyers, where so that wasn't the case in May or April. I was all on the selling side. So I think that does tell me something as well, where buyer intrigue, informed buyer intrigue, has returned to the market, seeing conditions cool down a bit. Anyways, let me know if you have any further questions. As always, I'm going to cover a lot more numbers in detail and specific Toronto condo numbers, downtown Toronto condo numbers, detached numbers in upcoming videos. So feel free to subscribe to stay tuned for that. I have a lot more cool content coming out. You can find my contact info in the description box. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe and stay tuned. Thank you.